Floor is yours, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Todd. Good morning, everybody. I am Yashar Franklin Hodge, Chair of the Public Improvement Commission, and I call to order the PIC hearing of April 24th, 2025. Mr. Lyman, please take the roll call.
Certainly. Would the representative from the Public Works Department please state their name for the record?
Yashar Franklin Hodge.
Property Management Department, please do the same.
Joseph Callahan.
Transportation Department.
Nick Gove.
Water and Sewer Commission.
Denise Devlin.
Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Sarah Leon.
Thank you. We do not have someone from ISD today, but we do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We have a packed agenda today, so we will get right into it, starting with hearing minutes. At the request of the Public Improvement Commission staff, the acceptance of the minutes of the PIC hearing held on April 10th, 2025. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the Public Improvement Commission hearing held on April 10th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain?
Same.
So moved. On to our next item, utility pole hearing continued number 1 on a petition by Verizon New England Incorporated for a utility pole installation to install one new private utility pole within public alley number 442 Boston proper, to be located at the rear of 262 to 264 Newbury Street, generally between Fairfield Street and Gloucester Street. This was at its first hearing on March 27th. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and let us know how you would like to proceed with this motion?
Yes, good evening. First name Alexander, last name Marrero, M-A-R-R-E-R-O. Employer Pike, P-I-K-E, Telecom and Renewables, LLC. We're an authorized contractor for Verizon New England Incorporated, and we will be representing Verizon in front of you this morning. Verizon is hereby formally requesting to withdraw this petition, as we will no longer be pursuing it in front of the Public Improvement Commission. And that's basically it for this petition at this time.
All right. Thank you very much. Easy enough. Do I hear a motion to accept the withdrawal of utility pole hearing continued number 1?
I make a motion to accept the withdrawal of UPC agenda number 1 petition from Verizon for a utility pole installation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So moved. On to utility pole hearing number 1 on a joint petition by Verizon New England and Eversource Energy for a utility pole installation to install one new private utility pole within Gove Street, East Boston, to be located on its southwesterly side of the side of 122 Cottage Street, generally between Lubeck Street and Cottage Street. The proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what you are intending to do.
Again, Alexander, last name Marrero, Pike Telecom, Verizon contractor. Verizon is hereby petitioning the commission to place one new 45-foot class 1 pole to be located on the southern side of Gove Street, to be placed approximately 45 feet from existing pole 16 and approximately 55 feet from existing pole 16B. Verizon is hereby making this petition in response to a request by Eversource, who has requested that a new pole be installed at this location in order to support new facilities to be installed to provide service to 255 Maverick Street.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? Hearing none, I'll just ask one, which is, can you just articulate, these are going to have three poles quite closely spaced together. Can you just explain why that's necessary?
So I can't respond to Eversource, but my best guess is that their existing three-phase cabling is going to conflict with the new cabling. i.e. in terms of spacing between the two sets of cabling that they will be installing. So they're requesting a new pole in order to provide the necessary separation between the two.
I see, okay. So there's congestion on the vertical congestion on the existing pole, and they'll need to sort of have something that would not otherwise be attachable because of those spacing issues.
Correct.
Okay, got it. All right, appreciate that. Commissioners going once, going twice, questions? PIC staff or members of the public?
I will take this opportunity to remind the public, if you wish to ask questions or add testimony, please use the raised hand function, which is found under the reactions tab at the bottom of your screen. I do not have any comments or questions at this time, and I do not see anyone from the public, so I think we're all set.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve utility pole hearing number 1?
I make a motion to approve a joint petition by Verizon New England and Eversource to install the utility pole in the area of Gove Street, East Boston, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, on to the public hearing section of our agenda, starting with public hearing number 1. On a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Dorchester, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, specialty pavement, street lighting infrastructure, storm drain infrastructure, street trees, and driveway curb cuts. Ballou Avenue, generally at Jones Avenue west of Ballou Avenue. This was new business on April 10th, as shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repairs Plans, Ballou Avenue at Jones Avenue, pedestrian ramp design, Dorchester, 4 sheets dated April 16th, 2025. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and give us an update on any changes since your last hearing or any responses to issues that were raised at that time.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Thomas Jay with the Public Works Department, leading the project that's doing the construction or design for these on the public side. I have today with me the consultant from GPI, Zach Bosmuth. I'll let him introduce himself shortly. But again, just a little bit of project background in case anyone wasn't here at the previous hearing, new business. This is a part of a state of good repair project to repair the streets of Jones Ave, Ball Ave, Jacob Street, Mascot Street, Dumas Street, Willowwood Street. This project began because there was a pedestrian bridge you can see as a discontinuous, labeled as a discontinuance, that was removed several years ago over the MBTA tracks. And as part of the mitigation for that project, we're looking to add improvements to this neighborhood. So this is part of a larger project for state of good repair or sidewalk repairs, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll pass it over to Zach, who can go over specific details and kind of what we've addressed from new business.
Hi, everyone. Zach Bosmuth from GPI, the designer helping out Public Works for this project. A few comments that came in since last time were from National Grid related to the gas line over here that runs at this bump out. They had some concerns about where some of the infrastructure was located in proximity to the gas line. So the adjustments that we made was we relocated the street light a little bit. We relocated this drop inlet drainage inlet here a little bit, and we removed the tree which was located in close proximity to the gas line over here at this location. Other than that, the geometry of this corner is the same, so just some minor adjustments there, but overall the design intent is the same with the bump out and the pedestrian ramp locations. Other comments that we got were related to the tree plantings, and we worked with Parks Department to update the details to make sure that they were consistent with what the Parks Department was looking for with respect to how the trees were planted. So we added some notes on there and coordinated with them. But in general, these locations are the same. These are just the notes that were added there. In addition, we are working actively with the Parks Department to just determine what exactly the tree species are out there. That'll be settled prior to insulation and construction there. And we're also working out with a comment that came in from the planning department related to the tree planting as well and the soil underneath. I think that about sums it up, Thomas. Is there anything else we wanted to add?
No, yeah, I think that sums up for, from new business and the comments we received.
Okay.
Commissioners, questions? PIC staff or members of the public?
All set here. We appreciate the plan updates.
All right, easy enough. Do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 1?
I make a motion to approve petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department for the making of specific repairs in the area of in Jones Avenues, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, so moved. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
On to public hearing number 2 on a petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority for the making of specific repairs within the following public ways in Brighton, consisting of curb realignment, roadway and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as new and relocated pedestrian ramps, traffic signal infrastructure, and storm drain infrastructure. Commonwealth Avenue, generally at Lake Street and at South Street. Lake Street north of Commonwealth Avenue, South Street north of Commonwealth Avenue. This was new business on April 10th. As shown on a set of plans entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Specific Repair Plan, Lake Street at Commonwealth Avenue, South Street at Commonwealth Avenue, Brighton, 14 sheets dated February 2024. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and give us an update on your proposal since the new business hearing?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Dino DeFranco Sr., the Municipal Liaison for the MBTA Green Line Program. With me today is Rabbi Basnet, the MBTA Project Manager. This specific repairs request involves accessibility improvements on the Green Line B branch at Lake Street and South Street. And we are ready to go. Please note, we had a change in PMs at Jacobs. And because of that, we realized we did not get BTD signals, the plans in CAD format. But I spoke with Al Valar yesterday, and we'll be getting those plans to him very, very quickly, hopefully tomorrow. So there's no issue there, but I just wanted to bring that up out front before Robbie gives you a little technical rundown. So Robbie, you can take it from here, pal.
Thank you, Dino. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Ravi Basnet, MBTA Project Manager. The proposal of this project is to improve pedestrian crossing along the B branch of the Green Line. These improvements are designed with safety, accessibility, and ADA compliance in mind. The project focuses on the demolition and reconstruction of series of pedestrian curb ramps along Com Ave at Lake Street and South Street. The main elements being addressed are pedestrian curb ramps and curb extension. So there are 7 pedestrian curb ramps that we'll be installing as part of this project at Lake Street. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And we have 3 curb ramps that we will be installing at South Street. 1, 2, and 3, right here. So that's all the scope of the project.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, questions, comments? All right, hearing none, PIC staff or members of the public?
All set on this.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 2?
I make a motion to approve a petition by the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority for the making of specific repairs in the area of Commonwealth Avenue and Lake and South Streets, as further read into the record by the chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too, Dino. All right, on to public hearing number 3 on a petition by Seaport Square Development Company LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Seaport Boulevard. Public Way, South Boston, located on its northeasterly side at address number 88, southeast of Fan Pier Boulevard. New business on April 10th, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan 88 Seaport Boulevard, Parcel D, Seaport District, South Boston. One sheet dated March 2025. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and give us an update on this proposal since your new business hearing?
Good morning, members of the commission. My name is Jody Sanchez from Woolston & Stores. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner Seaport Square Development Company LLC, the master developer of the Seaport Square project. I'm joined today by Coleman Horsley from Niche Engineering. We're before you today to respectfully request approval of a pedestrian easement over a sliver parcel relating to the Block D project of Seaport Square, which project site is located along Seaport Boulevard between Van Pier Boulevard and Block F of the Seaport Square project. As a reminder, the pedestrian easement over this sliver parcel will complete a set of adjacent pedestrian easements approved by the Commission in 2022. At the time the sliver parcel was owned by the MBTA, the sliver parcel has since been conveyed to the petitioner, and accordingly, we are now seeking the completion of the pedestrian easement area. Since we were here 2 weeks ago, we have finalized the pedestrian easement with the Commission's legal counsel. I'll turn it over to Coleman to walk through the plan.
Thank you. As mentioned, my name is Coleman Horsley. I work for Niche Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of the petitioner to present this pedestrian easement. You can see here in red, this is the portion of the former MBTA parcel now owned by the petitioner that is going to be added to the pedestrian easement. You can see for these context plans, these are the 2022 specific repairs that were approved previously by the Commission in 2022. The existing pedestrian easement follows the sidewalk, and we are looking to add this pedestrian easement to complete the sidewalk access for the public as part of this project. Flipping back to the pedestrian easement, you can see in red that area that will be added as part of the context. And with that, I will turn over to questions.
Commissioners, questions, comments? All right, hearing none, PIC staff or members of the public?
All set on this?
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 3?
I make a motion to approve a petition by Seaport Square Development Company LLC for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Seaport Boulevard as further read into the record by the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to public hearing number 4 on a joint petition by Northeastern University and the Boston Redevelopment Authority, DBA, the Boston Planning and Development Agency, for the widening, relocation, and extension of the existing right-of-way lines of Columbus Avenue, Public Way, Roxbury, as well as for the acceptance of highway easements from its current terminus at Melnia Cass Boulevard to a point at Tremont Street, located generally across from Ruggles Street. This was new business on April 10th, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Widening, Relocation, and Extension Plan, Columbus Avenue, Public Way, Roxbury, one sheet dated February 26, 2025. The proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and give us an update on any changes since your new business hearing.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Joe Connolly, project engineer from Howard Stein Hudson. I am presenting today on behalf of the proponents, Northeastern University and the Boston Planning Department. I am joined by Victoria Abelina of Northeastern and Jim Fitzgerald from Planning, as well as Ian McKinnon from our office. We presented a new business 2 weeks ago for the widening, relocation, and extension of the existing right-of-way lines of Columbus Avenue. There have been minor updates to the plan based on feedback from PIC staff prior to new business. We provided those updates yesterday, but just to summarize, we've patched the specialty roadway services and added a legend to both plans to provide clarity and connect these items to the language in the license agreements. There were no other changes made or requested. So with that, I will open it up to any questions.
Commissioners? I will ask, where are you in terms of the legal documents associated with this, and are there any outstanding issues associated with those?
Victoria, are you able to comment on that?
Sure. I'm also, good morning, everybody. Victoria Abelina. I'm a VP for Campus Plan Design at Northeastern. And I'm joined by Mitali Biswas, who is in the Office of General Counsel. So we're very close. I'm going to let Mitali chime in. But we've been working very closely with the city lawyers and the Boston planning lawyers and BPDA lawyers. So I think we've pretty much agreed on finalizing the language, but Mitali, if you can weigh in just where we are.
Sure. So over the past 2 weeks, we have continued our negotiations on the pedestrian easement, the 2 highway easements, and the license maintenance agreement for the specific repairs. The first 3, so the pedestrian easement, the highway easement with Northeastern, and the highway easement with the BPDA, those are finalized. And we have a couple of outstanding questions going back and forth between our end and Chong, Liu of the city's attorney, to finalize the LMI, but I think we're very close, and hopefully we should be able to wrap that up very soon.
Okay, so we will, if we, presuming we approve this action today, kind of finalization of all of this is still contingent on completion of that agreement, correct?
Yes, understood, but just noting that we're very, very close, so hopefully that should not be an issue.
Yeah, got it. And also to confirm, I know this is something that came up in the new business hearing, but will the university be accepting maintenance responsibilities for the entirety of this area and any specialty materials and designs, the many specialty materials and designs located here?
Yeah, and Victoria, feel free to chime in if you want to add anything. So the improvements are defined in the LMI, and it includes the specialty pavers, et cetera, and the brick in the streetways, as well as the non-standard light fixtures that are in the licensed premises area, to the extent that Northeastern down the line, with approval of the PIC, changes any of those specialty pavers, brick, or light fixtures to city standard materials at that which are then approved by PWD, then the Northeastern's responsibility for maintenance of those newly city standard materials would cease.
Understood. That makes sense, and glad to hear that the existing non-standard materials will be maintained by you all. Those were my only questions. Commissioners, anything else? PIC staff or members of the public?
No, all set on this. We really appreciate Northeastern's and BPDA's efforts on this. It's been a long time coming.
Indeed. All right, with that, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 4?
I make a motion to approve a joint petition by Northeastern University and Boston Planning and Development Agency for the widening, relocation, and extension of the right-of-way lines on Columbus Ave, as well as the acceptance of highway easements. And this is contingent upon completion of agreements as referenced by the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. On to public hearing number 5 on a petition by Northeastern University for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Columbus Avenue Public Way, Roxbury, located on its southwesterly side at the side of 1155 Tremont Street, northwest of Tremont Street. This was new business on April 10th, as shown on a plan entitled City of Boston Public Works Department Engineering Division Pedestrian Easement Plan, Columbus Avenue, 1155 Tremont Street, Roxbury, one sheet dated February 26, 2025. Would the proponents please reintroduce themselves and their affiliations and give us an update on this action and any changes since your new business hearing?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Again, my name is Joe Connolly, project engineer for Howardstown Hudson. I am presenting today on behalf of the proponents, Northeastern University and the Boston Planning Department. I am joined by Victoria Abelina of Northeastern, Jim Fitzgerald from Planning, Ian McKinnon from Howardstown Hudson, and Ms. Molly Biswas of Northeastern. We presented a new business 2 weeks ago for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Columbus Avenue. We made the same minor updates to this plan based on feedback from PIC staff, which was also provided yesterday via email. Other than that, there were no further changes.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions, comments? PIC staff or members of the public?
All set on this.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve public hearing number 5?
I make a motion to approve a petition by Northeastern University for the acceptance of a pedestrian easement adjacent to Columbus Ave, as further read into the record by the chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. Thank you very much. We'll see you, I think, in our new business section in a little bit, but thank you very much for this.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
On to, that concludes the public hearing portion of the agenda, so we can move on to new business. Starting with new business number 1, Willowwood Street, Dumas Street, Marden Avenue, Dorchester, specific repairs, and a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what is being proposed?
Hello and good morning, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is Thomas Shea with the Public Works Department, petitioning for the specific repairs at Willowwood Street at Dumas Street. I'm also joined by our design consultant from WSP. I'll let Greg introduce himself shortly, but before giving off, I'll give again a little bit of background information on this specific location as well as the wider project it is part of. The Jones Avenue Neighborhood Project is part of a reconstruction project that is looking to rebuild the streets of Jones Avenue, Barlow Avenue, Jacob Street, Mascop Street, Dumas Street, Willowwood Street, and bring them to a good state of good repair. Again, this project began as a response to the removal of the pedestrian bridge over the MBTA tracks that connected Barlow Avenue to Norfolk Street, and is kind of done as a mitigation for the loss of that bridge. The project is looking to provide accessibility improvements, safety improvements, additional street tree canopy throughout the neighborhood by repaving the roadway, reconstructing sidewalks, rebuilding pedestrian ramps, installing new street lighting, and planting new street trees, as well as green infrastructure. I'll hand it over to Greg, who can talk over the specific repairs at this specific location of Willowwood Street at Dumas Street. So, Greg, please take it away.
Great, thank you, Thomas. Good morning, Chairman, Commission members, good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Skiba. I'm the design lead for WSP for working for Boston Public Works for this project. I'm joined here by another project engineer, Jordan Friedman. And as Thomas mentioned, I'll walk you through the design of this intersection. The overall goal is to improve the intersection geometry to provide a more accessible and safe intersection for both vehicles and pedestrians. You can see here the existing curb lines at the existing intersection is a vast sea of pavement, and it's currently uncontrolled. So what we're proposing here is to extend the curb lines at each approach, square up the intersection, and create a controlled intersection geometry. By doing this, we are also reducing the crossing distances for pedestrians, installing a number of curb ramps and new crosswalks, and in those bump out areas, as Thomas mentioned, installing green infrastructure practices. We've been working closely with the Office of Green Infrastructure and other city departments on creating this design at the intersection. It's also worth noting on Martin Ave, we'll be improving the safety and accessibility for pedestrians by installing a raised crossing. It's also worth noting that we've ran auto turn movements, and this is an intersection that accommodates necessary movements for all vehicles, passenger, single unit trucks, and emergency vehicles. Happy to go into more details. The other sheets of this package just kind of talks through the pavement design. We'll be doing a full depth reconstruction for the majority of the intersection with the green infrastructure practices on the streetscape and mill and overlay on the extents of the project. The other details are pretty standard City of Boston details. And as I mentioned, we've been working closely also with Boston Water Sewer and other utility companies and making sure that their infrastructure, the catch basins, manholes, and any other utilities are properly adjusted or relocated in the new intersection configuration. We're also implementing the most recent set of Office of Green Infrastructure standard details in its design. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions. Thomas, do you have anything else that I missed that you'd like to add?
I think you've covered it all. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. Commissioners, questions, comments? Right, I have a couple. The maintenance of the bioretention areas and the green infrastructure features, what is the expectation for that?
The expectation at this time is that will be done, maintenance will be by OGI, still to be formalized, but that is the understanding at this time.
Okay, and we've confirmed that all of the plantable green areas of this sort of qualify for maintenance under their available resources. I see a growing basin, for example, and unclear, is that a green infrastructure feature or just a planted area that maybe wouldn't require maintenance under a different arrangement?
There are a couple different scenarios here. One is more a formal, larger bioretention space. They've just recently given us planting specific species of plants they want installed in that. Where Greg is highlighting to the right there, that's kind of a larger area where we can provide some drainage catchments. Some of these are just more of like a native seedy grassy mix, which don't really require as much maintenance. And those won't be servicing because they're over the gas lines and utilities, et cetera. So there's a mixture here of two different locations, but the intent, yes, and we've been closely coordinated with them, and so far we've been able to, this is intended to be maintained by them.
Okay, excellent. Appreciate that, and I think just if there are any elements, would be great before your public hearing if you can confirm that all elements, planted elements, will be maintained by the Office of Green Infrastructure, and if there are elements that would require public works maintenance beyond what is typically done for green infrastructure features, things like mowing or trimming or whatnot, that you just coordinate with the public works operations team to make sure that they're aware and comfortable with the design.
Understood. Will do.
Thank you very much. Second question, are there impacts here related to on-street parking that may be relevant to folks in the neighborhood?
Because we're pushing it towards the intersection, generally no, the one side where we may be somewhat restricting parking, and it's because the signage is a little confusing, that where we're putting the bump out between the two ramps on the northeastern side of the page. I can get you an exact number if we double check, but there may be a loss of a couple spaces technically there, but it's kind of within the intersection between a couple driveways. Other than that, technically no other legal spaces because the curb lines are getting pushed so far into the middle of an intersection. So.
Got it, okay. And has there been any communication with folks in the neighborhood or coordination with Office of Neighborhood Services about parking specifically or about the design in general?
We are recently coordinating with them for this overall project. This is kind of a new step for a state of good repair project, and doing that coordination, I have reached out to the adjacent abutters there's a condo association on the left for maintaining. As you can see, there is a couple extra. They'd have to shovel more snow, basically. That condo association was acceptable to doing that extra snow removal for their sidewalks. But we are currently engaging with ONS to come to some kind of more formal public engagement here.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate the outreach that's already done and still to come. If you wouldn't mind at your public hearing to just provide an update on the engagement plan. It doesn't all have to have been concluded by the time you are here again, but just want to make sure we have an outreach plan that we will move ahead with as this project progresses.
Understood. I will look to provide more details then.
Thank you very much. Those are all my questions. PIC staff or members of the public?
No, I think we're all set on this for now.
Excellent. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes, we should be ready. Greg, I think we've kind of basically addressed all the comments as far as I'm aware.
Yes, I would agree. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Excellent. We'll see you back here for this then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to new business number 2, Medfield Street, Keswick Street, Boston proper, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Would the proponents please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what you're proposing to do here.
Hey, good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Jeffrey Alexis with the Public Works Engineering Division, I&D team. Joined here by my consultant from Niche Engineering, who developed a number of these plans that will be coming up next. As part of our roadway reconstruction program, our state of good repair in terms of providing maintenance improvements along these streets, as well as some additional safety improvements, including sidewalks, ramp reconstruction, the proposal of street trees, street lighting, raised crossings, and then additional accommodations for bicycles as needed. I will turn it over to Jeff Sautel to share the plans and introduce himself.
Hey Jeff, this is Matt Soltis with Niche, also with Jeff Sautel, working on this project, and I can kind of take over and let Jeff chime in as needed, talk about these plans. So as Jeff Alexis noted, this is a BWE repair project, maintenance project, primarily using city standards everywhere, new concrete sidewalks with primarily mill and overlay. On Medfield Street specifically, reconstruction from St. Mary's to Park Drive, minor curb extension over here closest to St. Mary's with a raised crossing just west of Keswick Street, and then new contraflow bike lanes and replacing the existing concrete sidewalks. Turning movements for curb line changes have been checked for single unit truck and Boston Fire Department. And primarily outside of that, keeping the existing curb lines and making ADA improvements as needed.
Yes, and I'll just also jump in that we are proposing to relocate the parking along Medfield Street onto the, Page North side, north side of the street, as the contraflow bike lane will be on the south side of the roadway. Lastly, we are, as I mentioned, we are proposing lighting along this corridor. We are coordinating with the Parks Department as well as planning. I plan on scheduling an interim meeting to discuss how we would need to move forward in terms of the details and specifications for the existing trees. As you can see, located across from Keswick Street, there is a run of street lighting conduit that we're proposing within the roadway to protect the existing tree at that location, which was a request from the Parks Department. We are also proposing concrete medians, cast in place concrete medians as daylighting and protection for the bicycle facility along this corridor.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? Great, hearing none, I have a couple. Starting with that street tree, can you just speak in a little bit more detail? It sounds like there is street lighting conduit that is being relocated into the street in order to avoid excavation around the root zone of that tree, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So for this tree in particular, I'm sorry, I don't recall the tree species. The Parks Department requested that we propose the conduit run around the street tree because of the specific species, and kind of noting that if we do excavate along the root system of this tree, it would ultimately kill the tree. So survivability of the tree was an issue here. So specifically, we looked at rerouting it into the street. We are going to be working with the Parks Department to protect the other trees along this corridor, as well as in terms of excavation, because they've cited some current issues as of recent. So we will be looking at incorporating additional details as well as specifications to protect those existing trees along that southern side.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you. Moving on to just a question about the kind of intended bike facility here. So this would be a contraflow lane going in the direction of Park Drive that would run along the southern curb of Medfield Street, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Got it. Okay. Is it correct to surmise that the switch inside of parking is to facilitate a kind of clean transition for that contraflow lane and to avoid conflicts between contraflow bikes and parked vehicles?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And related to that bike lane, I see that there is cast in place daylighting proposed in a few spots along the corridor, or cast in place barriers of some kind. Certainly appreciate the intention of, at the new crosswalk that's being added that will serve to also daylight the crosswalk and prevent, illegal vehicle stops in an area that would impinge on pedestrian safety. Can you just speak to the kind of reasoning behind the cast in place barriers at the driveway, sort of towards the eastern end of the street on the south side, as well as the cast in place that's being placed at the far eastern terminus of Medfield where it intersects with Park Drive?
Yes, absolutely. Ideally, it was more to serve as protection for not only the cyclists that are traveling down this roadway. The driveway on the eastern side actually serves as a driveway for I want to say housing, not necessarily housing development, but the intention is for a lot of vehicles to be traveling in and out of this driveway because of the number of residences in this area down this street. The intent is just to provide more visibility and protection for cyclists on this route. This contraflow bike lane was at the request from the planning department who identified Medfield Street as a vital connection in this area to provide access to Park Drive. Medfield Street does ultimately connect into Brookline, which I believe is a route that is taking that is parallel with Commonwealth Avenue. So this is a low stress, safe route for cyclists to travel down along this street. But yeah, ideally, in lieu of proposing flex posts along this corridor, we are proposing these cast in place concrete islands.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate that, and that makes sense. And I assume we've done. It's not, I know it was mentioned that turning movement analysis has been done, so that vehicles exiting from that driveway that now has these cast in place elements on either side will still be able to make those turns. Has that also been confirmed for any larger scale vehicles that may be using that? I see, for example, there's it looks as though people keep their trash down there, and they may, I don't know if they bring it out to the curb or not, but there's quite a few trash cans visible down that driveway. Want to make sure that our trash trucks are able to get down there easily as well, and moving vans, other things that people may be trying to put into that driveway beyond passenger vehicles.
Yes, understood. We'll review and confirm that we are not impeding access for trash trucks along this into this driveway. So we will confirm if we need to make changes. We can shift the length of these cast in place concrete medians.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, would very much appreciate that. I know sometimes our we sometimes for vehicles that are not our design vehicle, we sometimes make it possible but not easy to get in, and knowing that trash trucks may be going down here every week, we would like to make it at least not a especially complex maneuver for those folks to make it in here. So just another look would be appreciated.
Absolutely.
Last question, sort of related to the shift inside for the parking. Have we done any analysis on the difference in parking spaces between the two sides? And has there, I guess a related thing, but also a general point is, has there been any outreach or discussion to people in the neighborhood or through ONS to discuss that shift in parking side and any impacts that may have?
Yes. So in terms of the parking, we did reach out to the community to inform them of the change. There is a slight reduction in the number of spaces along the corridor. That was not a concern from the community in regards to those couple of spaces. I think that the importance in terms of this project was us being able to provide the contract for bike lane and these other safety improvements. And in terms of the parking usage, utilization along the corridor, it wasn't going to be impacted. So that is something that we did confirm prior to making this change.
All right, excellent. Great, I don't think I have any other questions. EAC staff or members of the public?
All set.
All right. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes.
All right, we'll see you then for that. Thank you very much. On to new business 3, Armington Street, Emery Road, Barrow Street, Webley Street, Islington Street, Brighton, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Would the petitioners please reintroduce themselves and their affiliations and give us an overview of what is being proposed?
Yes, good morning. Once again, Chairman, members of the Commission, Jeffrey Alexis with Public Works Engineering Department, I&D, joined here by Niche Engineering, petitioning for the reconstruction of the roadway and sidewalks on Armington Street. Calling close attention to the improvements that we're proposing along this corridor. I will kick it over to Matt to kind of go into more of the details, but I just wanted to note that we have coordinated with the BPS in regards to the Horace Mann School of the Deaf and Blind in regards to these improvements. We are looking at removing an existing parking pocket that was provided for this school. However, what they've expressed is that it wasn't needed because their primary egress into the school was on Cambridge Street. We wanted to propose a symmetrical alignment in regards to the curbs along this corridor. We are looking at shifting the curb lines to provide our standard or somewhat substandard sidewalk width here as we're able to provide along this corridor, which generally has a substandard roadway width. We are proposing cast in place concrete medians as in regards to daylighting along the corridor, as well as an additional crossing that connects the Jackson Man to the Horace Man, which is underneath I want to say a sky bridge for the two schools. The last thing I want to mention is that the Horace Mann School was actually relocated to Charlestown this past summer. And the building is currently being used by the BCY, Boston Center Youth Center. And we will be coordinating and reaching out to them to ensure that these changes are not impacting their operations. I did connect and reach out to BPS Facilities Management in regards to these improvements. They are aware of these changes and have approved these changes, but as the BCYF is now using this building, I will inform them of these changes so that they're just aware. With that, I'll turn it over to Matt to kind of go into a little bit more of the details.
Great, thank you, Jeff. You hit on a lot of the big topics already, but I'll kind of give a general overview. So reconstruction of Arlington from Emory Road to Islington here on the corner. As Jeff mentioned, new concrete sidewalks, pedestrian ADA improvements. Once again, seeing those cast in place concrete daylighting. In terms of the new crosswalk right here at Horace Mann, that one also is proposed with a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. In terms of at Barrow Street, little minor geometric curb improvements here, just straight lining those curbs. Once again, truck turns were checked for a single unit in Boston Fire truck, but we can double check those with the concern about Medfield with trash trucks and just making sure those cast place islands are in the right place. I think that's pretty much it. I think, Jeff, you hit on the main topics, so I'm not going to reiterate those.
Yes, and I'll just simply add, there is a tree existing on Arlington Street that we are maintaining along the corridor to the right of Webley. So we are maintaining that tree. We are proposing, I believe, some resin bound stone or kind of allow it. Allow the clearance that is required for pedestrians on the sidewalk, and street lighting is being proposed on the north Page North, which is not going to be impacting with that existing tree. We are not proposing any other trees along the corridor as there are spatial constraints for the sidewalk.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions?
Hi, team. Just wanted to ask if you could clarify the exact dimension of clearance at the existing tree and if that could be documented on future plans, just for clarification.
Yes, we'll take that. Matt, do you have that?
I don't have it handy, but we can definitely look into that and provide it. Jeff Sawtelle, do you happen to have that handy? If not, we can follow up on that.
There should be 4 feet from the back of the curb, the proposed curb, to the edge of the existing tree pit, based on this new widening.
Great, perfect. If that could just be documented on the plans, that would be great. But also want to commend the team for the amount of outreach that they've done in regards to this project. I think especially in regards to the community uses that surround the street.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I just want to add like the additional crossing that we're proposing with the RFB was a request from the Horace Mann in regards to this being a passage that the community uses to gain access to a park. I believe is on the other side of the street. So this was something that they did request for us to do, and we were able to provide. Given that they're no longer there, I think it would ultimately be an improvement that will serve this community here in the future.
Thank you. Commissioners, other questions? I'll just say thank you for the outreach to BCYF. I was participated in a city council hearing last week in which I believe the Public Facilities Department had expressed a intention to start a planning study about the reuse of both the Jackson-Man and the Horace-Mann buildings for BCYF purposes. So I think just confirmation with both BCYF and whoever's leading that effort on public facilities that these changes all seem fairly straightforward and compatible with the, our broad goals around safety and accessibility. So, I don't imagine that there are major issues, but just want to make sure they're aware and comfortable with this moving forward relative to the planning work that they are intending to do. It would be great to confirm that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, PAC staff or members of the public.
I think we are all set on this one.
All right, will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll see you then. On to new business 4. Euclid Street, Withington Street, Dorchester, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Would the petitioners please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what is being proposed?
Yes, good morning, Chairman, members of the commission. Once again, my name is Jeffrey Alexis with Public Works Engineering Division, Infrastructure and Design, here petitioning for the reconstruction of Euclid Street between Withington and Washington Street. Ideally, these are just, for the most part, maintenance improvements. We are providing some daylighting along the corridor. We are proposing some new trees with tree planting treatment that will provide resin bound stone within the tree pit area. And as I mentioned, we'll be coordinating with the Parks Department to determine the detailed specifications and the detail of what the new planting should be. In addition to which specific trees that we are going to be proposing along the corridor. There are a number of them. But ultimately, we're proposing just new sidewalks, as well as new ramps at the Withington intersection, and just minor street lighting improvements along the corridor. But there are already existing street lighting conduit along the street. So just minimal improvements, mainly to address the maintenance and repave the roadway, as well as slowing down the corridor with a speed hump. With that, turn it over to Matt.
Good morning, again, Matt Soltis with Niche Engineering. Just to build on what Jeff presented, as you mentioned, we have a cast-in-place daylighting closest to Withington Street. And then I'll also just note that there's a proposed speed hump kind of in the middle of the street near number 11 as well. And primarily resetting the existing curb, mill overlay, and concrete sidewalks, and retaining and proposing new trees.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioners?
Just similar to my previous comment on the petition, anything points, we could just mention those to ensure we call out those key points. Yeah.
Yep. Sounds good.
My only comment relates to the daylighting that's proposed on the west side where Euclid meets Withington. So while it appears that daylighting is in an area that would not be considered legal parking today, it does appear that it is signed as a legal parking space just east of the street light, the existing street light, if I'm oriented correctly here. And so I think just because this will functionally eliminate a space that is currently working as a parking space, just please make sure there's some outreach to ONS and some communication with the neighborhood. Again, we have created a legal parking space in contrary to our own rules about spacing from crosswalks, and the daylighting here is important, but just want to make sure that it doesn't come as a shock to people in the community.
Yes, absolutely. We'll reach out to ONS to connect with the community and let them know that this will impact at least one parking space on Euclid.
I have no other questions. PIC staff or members of the public?
All set.
All right, will you be ready for your new business, or your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes.
All right, we will see you then. On to new business 5, Ready Avenue, River Street, Fraser Street, Hyde Park, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Would the petitioners please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, and talk us through what you're proposing here?
Yes, good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. Once again, Jeffrey Alexis, Public Works Department, Infrastructure and Design, proposing some improvements on Ready Avenue, petitioning for roadway reconstruction, full roadway reconstruction, which will include new lighting, new pedestrian ramps, curb extensions, speed humps, as well as improving accessible access to the park that is at the end of the street. I believe it's Ross Field?
Ross Playground, yep.
Ross Playground, yes. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I guess this was just a project that was a neighborhood request to improve accessibility to the park. There is actually a school along River Street that's probably a block or two away. So this is a roadway that needed attention in terms of pedestrian access and sidewalks. With that, I would turn it over to Matt to go a little bit more into details.
Great. Thank you, Matt Soltis, again with Niche Engineering. So yeah, we are proposing reconstruction on Ready Avenue from River Street to Ross Playground. Ross Playground is on page right to the north. Project includes replacing the existing HMA sidewalk with new concrete sidewalk. Closest to River Street, curb extensions with the pedestrian crossing improvements there. We are also proposing new street lighting conduit, as Jeff noted, on the north side, and then 2 new speed humps on either side of the side street, and then crossing over to Ross Playground, and then proposed concrete, cast in place concrete daylighting over at the Fraser Street intersection. Once again, there's street trees out here as well, and we're happy to note that any pinch point crossing distances we talked about for the other projects, and yeah, that's primarily it.
Yeah, and I'll note that we'll work with parks in regards to the proposed species along the corridor as well.
Excellent. Commissioners, questions? Sorry, Chief. One thing I'll mention, we did receive a request to take a look at the entrance to the park. We are currently proposing to pedestrian ramps to provide access. The request was to take a look at extending the sidewalk along here and providing a standard driveway for the entrance to the park. So that's something that we'll take a look at in terms of the drainage, as well as the access here to make it accessible for pedestrians. Thanks, Jeff. That was one of my questions. So I appreciate you working with Parks on that. The second thing I have is just similar to the last one. We are forcibly eliminating 2 informal parking spaces at the corner with Fraser Street here. So just wanting to make sure that there is good communication with the neighborhood about that in advance of this moving towards construction.
Yes, will do.
Great. Commissioners, any other questions, comments? All right, PSC staff, members of the public?
All set.
All right, will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. We'll see you for that. On to new business number 6, Thatcher Street, Metropolitan Avenue, Huntington Avenue, Bradley Street, Hyde Park, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. Petitioners, please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, and give us an overview of what is proposed here.
Yes. Good morning, Chairman, members of the Commission. Jeffrey Alexis from Public Works Engineering Division, Infrastructure and Design Team, joined here by Matt from Niche, petitioning for the improvements on Thatcher Street. Ideally, once again, this is a project that will be included in the contract with the other locations that we've talked about this morning. It's our state of good repair. program to provide maintenance improvements as well as additional safety improvements along these corridors. Along Thatcher Street, we're proposing a number of curb extensions along the corridor, specifically at Metropolitan Avenue, to shorten the cross distance at that intersection. We are proposing concrete sidewalks, replacing the bituminous concrete that is currently out here, asphalt sidewalks, and we're replacing them with granite curb, cement concrete, and then also providing standard pedestrian ramps, splitting the ramps as needed to improve access. With that, I will turn it over to Matt to introduce himself and also provide more details about these improvements.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Again, Matt Soltis with Niche Engineering. I'm working for Boston Public Works on this project. So this specific roadway, we're proposing improvements to Thatcher Street from Metropolitan Avenue to Bradley Street, reconstructing the existing roadway, pedestrian improvements at crossings, replacing the existing concrete sidewalks with, the existing HMA sidewalks with concrete sidewalks. As Jeff mentioned, curb extension improvement at Metropolitan Avenue. All the curb modifications were checked for a single unit truck in Boston Fire Department. New street lighting conduit, primarily along the south side of Thatcher Street. Getting to the intersection with Huntington, minor curb extension improvements there, not as significant as Metropolitan Avenue. And then ending on Bradley Street, primarily in this northeast corner, curb extension here was bringing out that radius to shorten the pedestrian crossing distance as well, with new street conduit there for the street lighting. Project also includes working with parks on the street trees and what else? I think that was about it. Primarily just road improvements, with the curb extensions being kind of the bigger change here.
Yes, and we'll follow up with parks in regards to specific tree species that we want to propose along the corridor.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? Can you speak to the intention of the street lighting conduit? Currently, I believe the street lighting here is on utility poles on it's at the north side of the street. It looks like we're adding new conduit. Are there bases being installed, or what are we doing with that?
Yes, so as shown here, I think the street lighting department actually requested that we propose underground conduit for this corridor, and I think they're proposing alternating lighting sub-bases at this location. So we're ultimately just proposing the underground as part of our improvements, and street lighting will come in and install the poles as well as the lighting fixtures as part of their standard operation. So conduit will go on the southern side, Page South, I believe. Pull boxes as well as sub bases, and then to provide those laterals across the street would provide the bases on the other side.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate that. And yeah, hopefully some good lighting upgrades for the neighborhood. The spacing on those is not ideal. Today in its current iteration. So appreciate that. No other questions from me, PAC staff, members of the public?
All set on this.
All right. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes, sir.
All right. See you back here then for that. And on to our last public works item last public works item. New business 7, McBride Street, Lee Street, Boynton Street, Call Street, West Roxbury, specific repairs on a petition by the City of Boston Public Works Department. The proponents please reintroduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what is being proposed.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Members of the Commission, Jeffrey Alexis, Public Works Engineering Division, Infrastructure and Design, joined here by Matt from Niche, petitioning for the McBride Street improvements. This is also a community request in terms of repairing the sidewalks, proposing concrete sidewalks along this corridor. In addition, there was a request for us to propose a contraflow bike lane along this corridor. coordinating with DCR and their improvements to the Southwest Corridor Park. We are also proposing a raised crossing at that location that will ultimately provide access. It is a wider crosswalk than our standard to improve the accommodations for the shared path for cyclists and pedestrians. With that, I will turn it over to Matt to kind of get into more of the details of the improvements.
Great, thank you. Once again, Matt Soltis with Niche Engineering. I'm here to talk about the improvements on McBride Street from South Street to Boynton Street. Proposed improvements primarily include mill and overlay, replacing the existing HMA sidewalks with cement concrete sidewalks. Closest to South Street, proposing cast in place concrete daylighting. As Jeff mentioned, we are doing a contraflow bike lane along this roadway as well. Along the stretch reconstruction, there's a total of 3 speed humps. There's 2 shown on this page, one here, and then going closer to Lee Street, there is a raised crossing there on the page east side of the intersection with proposed cement concrete daylighting, as well as curb extensions, slight curb extensions there at the intersection with Boynton Street as well, just to increase the pedestrian crossing distance and get those 2 separate ramps to work out a little bit better grading wise. And then a new proposed raised crossing at the Southwest Corridor Park crossing as well. That's a 15-foot crossing width, just a better flow from the existing path north and south. And street tree improvements similar to the other projects, and we'll coordinate with parks on that. That's primarily the bulk of it that I have for my notes.
All right, commissioners, questions, comments? Just to confirm, currently on the east side of the Boynton Street intersection here, there is a crosswalk that does not have a receiving ramp, a crosswalk over McBride that does not have a receiving ramp. It appears that crosswalk is being eliminated in favor of one over McBride on the west side of Boynton Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So we'll eliminate the non-accessible crossing there.
Yeah, we were unable to provide or maintain that crossing, maybe because of the driveway. McBride Street does turn into a one-way at this location, so for the most part, vehicles are going to be turning left here onto Boynton Street, who are traveling, I want to say, westbound along McBride. And we ultimately received the request to make sure that we provide additional and sufficient and adequate signage stating that this section is a one-way and vehicles should not be entering this street from this location to travel westbound.
Except for bikes.
Except for bikes, yes, except for bikes.
Got it. Okay, excellent. Much appreciated. No questions from me. Anyone else, commissioners? All right. PIC staff or members of the public?
All set on this.
All right. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll do this marathon again. Thank you, Jeff and team, very much. Appreciate it, and
Thank you.
A lot of great improvements in the neighborhood, so it's good to see.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Chief.
All right, with that, we are on to new business 8, North Margin Street, Thatcher Street, different Thatcher, Boston proper, grant of location on a petition by NStar Electric Company, DBA Eversource Energy. Would the proponents please introduce themselves, their affiliations, and walk us through what you are proposing to do?
Being Phyllis Galloway, right-of-way agent at Eversource, filling in for Katie Flaherty. As stated, Eversource respectfully requests to install conduit in North Margin Street and Thatcher Street, and to install one new sidewalk vault, SNV 725, including a network transformer in North Margin Street. This work is necessary to improve and ensure electric service reliability in the area. Eversource will be retiring Station 30 in the near future, and we need to build a new infrastructure to refeed the customers that are currently fed from the station, and that is the reason why we're requesting to install the SNV in the sidewalk.
Are you able to put plans up? If not, Todd can maybe able to do it.
Todd, can you do that for me? I'm filling in for Katie. I didn't realize you didn't have plans.
So guys, this is Kelly. If I can share on here, it's Kelly Correa at Eversource. I do have plans up.
Great.
I just got to figure out how to share my screen here.
Yeah, go right ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
That's all right. I got to find the share option. What's on? Oh, here we go. Share. And then pick my screen and share. So let me know if we can see those.
Yep, we have.
That's good. So basically, again, we're at the corner of Thatcher and North Margin. We're coming from, this is Prince Street over here, and we're coming down, which one's which here? We're coming down Thatcher Street, and we're going through existing manholes just along where our electric conduit goes now, and we come down to the intersection at Thatcher and North Margin. From manholes 358, I know it's kind of hard to see here, but from this manhole here up to our end point at manhole 5334, we actually do have existing electric conduit, but the sidewalk vault is going to go right in here, in between the manholes here. It is part in the sidewalk, part in the street. We've had discussions with people from the city, various agencies. It's going to be like a molded cover, so you won't see the street end of it. The entrance to the vault is actually like within the sidewalk area. It'll be flush, ADA compliant, etc. If you want, I have Google Maps up here. This is just super congested up here, so trying to find space for a vault was tough, but I am trying to get to my internet here. Bear with me, I can show you exactly where this is going. I had it up, but it's not. I get all these bars from the meeting covering my search bar, so I can't move anything. All right, so if I go to Google Maps. Okay, so Thatcher comes into North Margin here. I'm gonna do an aerial view. And where's my street view guy? Whoops, all right, am I not sharing now? Did I just?
No, we can see you.
Yeah.
We can see it, this is great.
Okay, so wait a minute, I gotta get back to my screens here. All right, here's my screen. Google Maps. Here we go. All right, so my guy is down in this intersection. Let me get my bearings here. Okay, so this is Pizzeria Regina on the corner right here. So I'm going back here toward this area here. So there's like this red door. There's these kind of odd brown panels or doorway. I don't know what they are there. On the sidewalk, we're actually going in the sidewalk right in that area here. You can see it better. So it'll be right here where my arrow is, if that helps.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Appreciate the visual orientation here.
And we tried like a few different places trying to keep it more out of the way. It's just everything under the roadways are so congested there that there really was not another option. So I don't know if you want plans up again or anything.
Yeah, that's great. And so it looks like you'll be doing trenching in the roadway, kind of going back to essentially the front door of Pizzeria Regina and then down along the side of the building, and then again down Thatcher Street. Is that correct? For the conduit?
Yes.
I understand you have some existing manholes, but I'm seeing installation of additional PVC in the plan set.
So yeah, just the PVC being our pipe, but no new manholes. That's the only underground like vault structure going in.
Got it.
And all the rest of it is we're going to go through existing manholes. It's just we need to place new conduit.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioners, questions?
I was wondering if the team could clarify the amount of sidewalk construction needed to install this fall and whether or not the pedestrian ramps, I think, at the kind of three-way intersection of North Margin Street and Thatcher Street will be impacted as part of the vault installation or trenching installation.
So I believe the vault is only going to be in this area. It shouldn't impact the pedestrian like ramp at the corner here. And this is the only area where we're going to be impacting sidewalk. All the rest of it will be in the roadways.
Yeah.
Commissioners, other questions? Will there be any issues related to vehicles parking on the street at this location once construction is complete?
No, once it's complete, everything will be back as is.
Okay. Okay, so there's no structural concerns with the vault underneath.
Correct.
And the location of the vault entry is not going to be in front of the red door, correct? It will be along these brown, whatever these brown panels are?
Correct, right in this area here.
Okay, got it. Given that this structure, I don't envy anyone trying to do utility work in the north end, but given that this structure appears in the plans to be right up against the foundation of the building, has there been any abutter coordination that's happened, and any kind of work done to ensure that the abutter is comfortable with potential construction impacts and just any potential for if there's an issue related to the foundation of the building during excavation, that there's a line of communication there between the abutter and Eversource?
So my apologies, I can't speak to like any conversations or what's happened at this point so far. I can certainly guarantee we will make that coordination before we start construction.
Okay.
I can go back to, our public affairs liaison and our ops team and see if they've spoken with anybody. We can certainly have answers for you at public hearing time.
Okay, that would be great, yeah.
We did ensure one of the questions notifying the city agencies was access to that red door during construction, because we know we're close in there, but we are going to have police details and people will be able to pass in and out of that door as needed.
Okay, that's great to hear. And would just appreciate if that conversation hasn't taken place, that it happened before your public hearing and that you just report back to us kind of the status of that. Obviously nobody likes construction literally at their front door, but we just want to make sure that there's good lines of communication open and, especially if there are any structural impacts or concerns, that those get addressed up front.
Understood.
All right. No more from me, PIC staff, or members of the public?
All set on this one.
All right. Will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
We will.
Great. We will see you back here then. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, on to new business 9, 840 Columbus Avenue, Melnia Katz Boulevard, Tremont Street, Roxbury, pedestrian easement, specific repairs, and a set of joint petitions by Northeastern University, ACCOP 840 Columbus LLC, and the Boston Redevelopment Authority, DBA, the Boston Planning and Development Agency. Would the proponents please introduce or reintroduce themselves and walk us through what you are proposing to do here?
So good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is Chris Hyde. I'm project manager with Niche Engineering, civil engineer working on the project. I'm joined by quite a few folks this morning. We've got the Brian Bowers with ACCOP 840 Columbus Ave, Justin Karen and Kirsten Brown with North Star representing ACC. We've also got Maureen Hickey, Victoria Abelina, Natalie Biswas from Northeastern, and then Ian McKinnon from Howard Stein Hudson, all working on this project. All are here. So I'm going to walk through the proposed work at 840 Columbus Ave. As you mentioned, this was an earlier item, or this is related to an earlier item that was on the agenda for the turning over of Northern Ave, or sorry, did I say Northern Ave? Columbus Ave to the city. Getting ahead of myself there. So the proposed project is, it's a new student housing building on the site of an existing parking lot. You can see a rendering of it here. This is standing along Columbus Ave looking towards the building. And we're here for specific repairs which will be associated with that along street level. Shown a rendering here just of what we envision this will look like in the future, just to give you an idea as we're walking through the plans. So I'm going to start on Tremont Street. We've got 3 streets here: Tremont Street, Melnia Gas Boulevard, and then Columbus Ave. We'll walk around starting on Tremont Street. So on Tremont Street, we zoom in here. Starting from the building and working our way out. Building is this dark line here. On the private property portion of the land, there's going to be a small strip of paver, which will then transition to cement concrete city standard sidewalk. You can see the hatch here, which indicates the pedestrian easement for where the city sidewalk is going to extend onto the private land. From there, that sidewalk it varies in length from on the left side where we're tying into existing at about 9.5 feet up to 12.6 feet at its widest point. And so from there, we're going to transition into have some seating along the edge of the sidewalk. That'll include seat backs and some cutouts for wheelchairs. We've worked with Sarah and the disabilities folks on this. We also will include a porous pavement strip along the edge, porous pavers, which will include bike racks and streetlights. We also have 3 new trees, which will be going in along this section of roadway as well. And we'll be reconstructing the existing pedestrian ramps to make them compliant, and which includes the reciprocal ramp across the other side of the street. And you can see we've also got a ramp here, which I'll get to on the next page. So flipping around now, we're on Melnia Gas Boulevard. We've got Tremont Street, which we just talked about on the left side here. Columbus Ave is on the right. We've got our new building on the top of the plan. So walking through this again, starting from the building, we'll have a similar paver strip, which will then transition out to the city standard concrete sidewalk. One thing to note here is that the building first floor elevation is at 20.33, which is about 1.8 feet higher than the top of curb elevation is today. So the way that we are accomplishing that grade change is you can see there's a wall here, which is kind of checkmark shaped. We've also got this wall here with stairs in the middle. We also have the sidewalk sloping down at less than 5% to this access point here, which will give access to this drop-off zone in front of the building. And then likewise, it'll slope down at less than 5% towards Tremont Street as well. So it's all done in an accessible manner. It doesn't require handrails. It's not a ramp. Also shown on here, so similarly, we're going to have some more bike racks along here. We'll have additional trees along the stretch, street lights, and then there's a raised cycle track, which will be at sidewalk level. You can see it from the intersection here. It'll slope up, be at sidewalk level through this area, and then slope back down to roadway level at the Tremont Street intersection. And then upward of that, there are more plantings and permeable pavers. In working with Sarah and the disabilities team, we have added in access to this drop-off area. So we have a cement concrete sidewalk which crosses over the cycle track, as well as we've graded in this level access at the backside of the drop-off area as well, which gives access through where the pedestrians would be crossing. and this level access to the backside. And then also when we get over to the intersection here, we were in front of PIC a couple of years ago with Northeastern to reconstruct this corner of this intersection, which included some raised islands to separate the cycle track and pedestrian crossing area to give a little more protection. This project will finish that work, so you can see the new curbs here, as well as on the other two corners. And this is really just to finish out that plan for the intersection. So moving around to Columbus Ave. So this is the right-of-way which was approved this morning. So we have the proposed building at the bottom of the plan now. The cement concrete sidewalk is going to be essentially right up against the building in most places. There is a small area of pavers in front of the building. That sidewalk goes out similar to the other streets. We're going to have some bike racks, trees, and seating. We're reconstructing the pedestrian ramps as they cross Columbus Ave. And we're also proposing a street level cycle track, two-way cycle track, which will be protected by the raised concrete islands, which I know we're on a few other items this morning, in lieu of the flex posts. So those will be these oval-shaped items in the street. To provide room for that and to allow vehicular access through here, we're making some adjustments to the curb line on the opposite side in front of the Northeastern Renaissance Park garage. And you can see the proposed curb line here, straightening it out in this area. This will also allow us to give us more space for the blue bikes, which are in this location. And then on the plan left side here, the curb's getting pulled back in just a bit to narrow down this pinch point, which is being created by the cycle track. So I mentioned we have a couple of pet easements. Those are shown on these two plans, and that's just so that we can cover the entire section of concrete sidewalk that is acting as the public sidewalk, but is on private property. And so that's on Tremont Street and on Melnia Cass, and we do not have one on Columbus Ave. So with that, I'll turn it over to you for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, questions? All right, I have a couple. If we could go to the intersection of Tremont and Melnia Cass, I see that in looking at the ramps going across to the left here, that's Columbus.
Oh, sorry, Tremont and Melnia Cass.
Yeah. So I see that we are doing, that you're kind of creating a new ramp across Tremont Street here, well, replacing the existing crossing on Tremont Street, and fixing the ramp on the island, the sort of slip lane pedestrian island there. I guess my question is, now that I have accessibly accessed this island, how do I get anywhere else? And is that crossing accessible as well?
So we only looked at the reciprocal crossing. Here, there's an existing ramp today. There is a crossing, you can see it over here. That's not a part of this project, so we haven't looked to see if that is compliant, so I'm not aware. But there is access. This would be the way. This is the slip lane to get onto Melnia Cass from Tremont, and this would cross you over onto the far side of the sidewalk on Melnia Cass.
So, I mean, I will defer to the Sarah and the Disabilities Commission on this, but you know, my general feeling in a situation like this is that we do the public a disservice if we create a half-accessible crosswalk. You know, we're inviting people to make that journey across to a slip lane, and then they are literally stranded on an island if the remainder of the crossing opportunities are not accessible. So it seems to me that in the while the letter of a reciprocal ramp may simply specify the receiving ramp on the other side of this crosswalk, the spirit of it is to create a fully accessible crossing opportunity to somewhere useful, which this does not do if the other crosswalks off of this island are not also accessible. So again, with full deference to Sarah, I would be interested in seeing the proponents evaluate the accessibility of those other crossings and look at whether this project, if they are not up to snuff, could address that at the same time that we are addressing this one specific crosswalk.
We can certainly look and coordinate with you and Sarah.
Okay, I would appreciate that, and we can get an update on that for the public hearing.
Just for the record, Victoria Apolina, AVP for Campus Planning and Design at Northeastern. As we coordinate, is there anyone from planning or BPDA? Because Crescent Parcel is a project that was approved by BPDA as well, and I just wanted to know what their status is. We actually have not we've talked to proponent before for Crescent Parcel, and they were moving forward at a similar pace. So I guess we should check in with them, because I believe the reason we weren't expanding it further was because Crescent Parcel had PIC action as well associated with it. So we'll just need to coordinate with that developer to make sure we're not designing for them or we're not duplicating work. But we're definitely happy to address that, because we definitely don't want anyone stranded on that, especially that island.
Yeah, not the sort of no coconut trees or anything else on an island like that. No, happy to see this. If this is going to get taken care of by another project, then some coordination there is sufficient. But would love to see us have a plan. So would appreciate the proponents working with the planning department and that other developer to look at options for that.
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
Much appreciated. Second question here. While we're on this sheet, it relates to this cycle track showing a connection across Tremont onto Melnia Cass. I'm and appreciating that the PAC typically does not get into the weeds of signal phasing and whatnot. I'm a little perplexed by the purpose of this crossing here over Tremont Street, and also the more fundamental safety question just relates to the signal phasing. The movement off of Melnia on towards Tremont is, I believe, one through lane and one right turn lane. And at least if I'm recalling the current phasing of that intersection, you would have cars turning right across the mouth of a bike lane. It is unclear what that bike lane is connecting to on the opposite side. It would appear to just put bikes onto the main barrel of Melnia Cass alongside that pedestrian island, which is not necessarily a place we would want to encourage anyone to ride a bike towards. Then also, if you do have bikes making that move, is the plan to signal separate the right turns coming off of Melnia onto Tremont Street in order to protect cyclists there? So I'm just a little perplexed by that whole setup and the reasoning behind it. And typically what we're trying to do at Melnia is to get people onto the off-street separated two-way bike facility that is on the Page South here on the other side of the street, rather than to dump them onto the main arterial. So this just seems like it doesn't align with that intention from a bike network safety perspective.
Sure. Ian, are you able to respond?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners and Chair. Ian McKinnon from Howard Stein Hudson. So completely appreciate your comment, Chief. Understanding there is broader planning for bike connectivity in this area. The signal Details themselves, we're at a 25% level of design. We made one submission to the signals team and are waiting for final or the next round of comments from them. But as it stands now, the intention was to create some connectivity. Understand there are no formal bike facilities on that side of the road going points east. Our goal here is just to make sure that facility just doesn't abruptly end with no connection. So I understand what you're trying to get at. We can take a look a little bit more at this, and really our goal is to hopefully connect people back to the shared use path at the other intersection, but understanding even this block would have bike users, particularly with this large new academic building with lots of students in it. So yeah, let us take a look at that and see if there's a better way to connect them at this intersection.
Yeah, no, I'd appreciate that, and you know, even in some future state of Melnia Cass where there's like a shared use path on both sides of the street, which I know has been discussed at various points, this connection is not, unless that slip lane is being eliminated, it creates a very dangerous condition for cyclists on the other side of the pedestrian island where they would then need to cross a slip lane coming off of Tremont Street northbound. So it seems like given the current existing facilities, an option might be to try to cross pedestrians with, or cross bikes with pedestrians over Melnia Cass to get them onto the north side of Melnia and allow them to access the shared use path that exists today that way. So would just appreciate coordination with our planning folks and our bike network folks to come up with something that doesn't put people in harm's way. That also will simplify your signaling since you don't have to worry about right turn conflicts with bikes crossing Tremont Street.
Exactly, yeah. We'll pick that up with them. I know they've reviewed this submission once.
Okay.
On addressing all of their concerns.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, moving page east to Columbus and Melnia Cass. I just want to confirm that there has been full coordination with the BTD signals team on the placement and design of any signal infrastructure or the relocation of any signal infrastructure related to this intersection. It's I haven't had a chance to discuss with them directly, but it's an intersection that with not particularly efficient signal operations and a lot of potential for improvements with detection and other strategies. And so I just want to make sure that that team has a chance to fully evaluate the physical infrastructure that's going in order to make sure that we're not accidentally foreclosing any future signaling, traffic engineering changes that they might have envisioned.
I can also answer that question too. So Ian McKenna again from Howard Stein Hudson. So as Chris alluded to, this has sort of been like a long-term strategy to upgrade everything at this intersection. So when the EXP building went forward, the sort of bottom right corner here was addressed, all the equipment was upgraded. This project is picking up the latter half of the three corners of the intersection and replacing all the equipment, new detection, new push buttons, there's bike signals, there's a ton of things that are going into this to control this and make this a safe place for all. And BTD's signals team and also the I&D team have all reviewed this. And so I know we haven't finished that formal review. We're in one round, but initially there were no concerns about placement of particular infrastructure, to my knowledge. So hopefully that addresses your question.
Yeah, no, it does, and I appreciate that, and appreciate you confirming that coordination, and yeah, happy to see that there's thought, going into all the optimization here. So staying at this intersection, but I'll ask a kind of general question and then a more specific question. So this stretch of Columbus Ave between Melnia Cass and the Ruggles T Station and the Southwest Corridor connection is extraordinarily chaotic from the perspective of cyclists, pedestrians, drivers. It's sort of functions as one big indistinct mixing zone of everyone, and I see some really great thought and effort into trying to organize that here. It appears that the goal, if I'm sort of interpreting the intent of the plans correctly, is to take southbound bicyclists that are on the southbound on-street lane on Columbus Ave and to cross them on the far side of the Ruggles Lower Busway into this new two-way facility that's going to run alongside the new building and the existing building going up towards Ruggles Station in the southbound direction. So I have two related questions to that. One is Page North. I am curious how we then intend to cross people back to the Southwest Corridor and how that sort of interface is intended to work at the giant crosswalk in front of Ruggles Station. But while we're on this part of the page, this is one of those unique locations where we have multiple bike facilities running in parallel along Columbus Ave, and you can see the very bottom of the page, there's another two-way facility here. Currently, cyclists have a choice. If they're on the on-street facility, they can stay on Columbus Ave as a vehicle in the travel lanes. They can go up on the sidewalk alongside the garage and in front of Ruggles Station. And so I guess I'm curious here what our intention is with people who are using the sidewalk level two-way facility along Columbus Ave traveling southbound. Is the intention that they would continue to cross at the pedestrian crossing and merge in with pedestrians in front of the driveway entrance or the garage entrance going past the Ruggles Station? Is the intent to somehow direct them across the street onto this new two-way facility and then cross them back to re-access the Southwest Corridor? I'm just a little perplexed as to what we're trying to steer people towards in all of this.
And I can answer that question again. So Ian McKinnon from Howard Stein Hudson. And I don't think there's anybody from planning on, but they can also chime in here too. So we received some direction to do a couple of things here. One is to connect and to create that new connection to Ruggles that you alluded to, understanding, we're trying to bring cyclists away from that very busy mixing zone at the bottom of the stairs for the Ruggles Station. So the goal is to transition them to a new ramp that's built by that project. By others. I think the T is still working on that. And so we've coordinated with those plans. And really the goal is to remove a lot of that conflict from directly the Wren Park garage that you alluded to, which is right up this face of the building on the right here, and to try to remove that conflict area by shifting them to an on-street facility. But that facility and that DCR Park, Linear Parkway, still exists and will. But if they intend to cross here, there is a very wide shared use path crossing. You can kind of see some of the ramps there. It's not fully built or fully on this plan, but it was recently rebuilt as part of the EXP. It's a much wider, 12-foot wide ramp. So that is the intention, because that's also a low volume crossing, because that's just a busway. So that's sort of the intention, is to try to remove some of those conflict areas and to make them into safer areas. But this also allows connectivity to the Ruggles Street project that also just finished as well. So having them on that sort of the plan west side of this allows for those direct connections to, further down into to Roxbury. So that's sort of the vision here, I think, from a planning perspective.
Just to clarify, it's from the city's planning department perspective.
Correct.
Yes.
Because, so the one thing I do want to say is that we've raised similar concerns with the planning transportation or planning's transportation team, but this was part of the work that they've been coordinating internally about creating a robust bike network. And I do want to flag that there is another set of conflicts when the bikes are along 840, which is the loading dock for 840 and Wren Park. Mm-hmm. So the Wren Park garage is not the only conflict, but you do end up pushing cyclists across the two intersections to be able to make it safer. And just from being in this area all the time, is that folks that are on DCR path don't go on city And then the folks that generally like to ride without any humans in the way, they'll stay on the street. So the bikers that are on the street stay on the street and usually don't weave in to try to navigate around students. But people that like to be on the path, the DCR path, will stay and go through the newly built, rebuilt path in front of Renpar Garage, EXP, and ISEC.
Yeah.
So they stay on the sidewalk and then they go past Mass Ave Station and keep going.
Yeah, this whole complex is a fascinating lesson in sort of revealed preference and different risk and tolerances that different people have. So appreciating the point that this is coming from inside the building at City Hall, I think I don't want to put the proponents in the position of having to kind of answer for our own teams, internal teams' perspectives on all of this. I think from a PIC perspective, though, it's important that we as a commission feel comfortable that the physical changes that we're approving to the street, even if they're directed by our own planning team, align with some kind of a strong long-term vision so that we're not in the position of then having to change the street again at some point in the future. So I think we can take this as our own internal action item to do a check-in with our teams about the intentionality behind this, because I think from my perspective, to be comfortable with this, I need to understand how it fits into that larger network plan and what kinds of behaviors, particularly by cyclists, we are hoping that the design that the PIC is reviewing today will induce, and want to make sure that that seems plausible in terms of the desired outcome. Because what I would like to avoid in a situation like this is, for example, that southbound cyclists on the on-street lane don't want to do that double crossing and then the crossing and then the cross back. And so then they find themselves either there are now more bikes in the pedestrian on the sidewalk and the shared sidewalk in front of the Renaissance Center garage, or that you then have those bicyclists in a narrowed street right of way in conflict with vehicles. So I think I want to make sure that we have a coherent picture of how this all fits together and it passes the sniff test before we go ahead and improve permanent changes in the roadway to accommodate a particular future vision on this segment. So I will take action internally to kind of get that view, but we may need to pull you all back into that discussion if there's any changes resulting from that, or if there are questions that we would want answered on this part of the project. For example, that question of how, whether we want to try to put in any additional guidance for people who are on the off-street cycle track, north of Melnia to guide them in one particular place or another. So long way of saying we have a little bit of internal homework to do, but let's stay in touch on this before your next hearing. And I'll just end by saying I really appreciate the effort to organize this space. It's desperately in need, so I just want to make sure we get it right when we do it. All right, that is all of my questions. PIC staff or members of the public?
I think we're good on this one for now.
All right. With that, will you be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th?
We will.
Excellent. We will see you then. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, on to our last agenda item, new business 10, 316 to 318 and 331 to 339 Northern Avenue, South Boston, vertical discontinuance, and a joint petition by Vertex Pharmaceuticals and the Economic Development and Industrial Corporation of Boston. The proponents please introduce themselves and their affiliations and walk us through what you are proposing to do.
So, good morning again. My name is Chris Hodney, project manager with Niche Engineering. I'm joined here by Dan Baxter with Vertex Pharmaceuticals and Klaas Andreessen with SGA, the architect on the project. We are here for a proposed vertical discontinuance across Northern Avenue between one existing building, which is 316 to 318 Northern Ave, you can see on the top side of the plan, and one currently under construction building, which is 331 to 339 Northern Ave, also known as 22 Dry Dock Ave. Both these buildings will have Vertex in them in the future, and this bridge is meant to facilitate that connection between the two. So the bridge itself, it's going across the right-of-way. You can see in this cross-section up here, it's about 72 feet wide across the right-of-way. The height above grade at its lowest point is approximately 31.9 feet, and there is nothing that extends down to grade. It's fully supported by the two buildings on either side of the street, so there are no supports in either the public way or any parts of the private parcels as well. And just to give you an idea of what it's supposed to look like, here's a rendering. This is looking down Northern Ave. We've got the currently under construction building on the left and the existing building on the right. So I will open it up to questions.
Commissioners, questions? All right, PIC staff or members of the public?
Chris or someone else, it'd be nice if you could just speak a little bit to the urban design review that's occurred through the planning department on this. I know there have been a lot of conversations surrounding this bridge.
I can address that.
Okay.
Yes. Hi. Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. My name is Dan Baxter. I am Senior Director of Engineering and Capital Projects at Vertex. I've been involved with this project from the beginning. It has gone through lengthy discussions with the Boston Planning and Development Agency and through their urban planning group, as well as through the Boston Civic Design Commission. We've heard a number of comments. We've adapted the design as you see it here to meet those comments. We have presented to and been approved by the BPDA Board of Directors and continue to make the final small bit pieces adjustments with BPDA's involvement relative to selection of materials and things of that nature.
All right. Todd, any further?
No, that answers my question. Thank you. Just wanted that for the record.
All right, thank you very much. All right, well, hearing no questions, comments, we'd be ready for your public hearing in 2 weeks on May 8th.
Yes, we will.
All right, excellent. We will see you then for that.
Thank you.
All right, well, we made it to the end. Thank you all very much. With that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? So moved. We're adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, everybody.